Playoffs begin tomorrow, and in case you feel behind, you've come to the right place. Here's everything you need to know about the season in 82 seconds. The 76ers traded for Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris, both in contract years. They're going for it. Anthony Davis demanded a trade at the deadline. The NBA fined him for it. He's still on the Pelicans. The Knicks managed to lose 18 straight games at the Garden, but apparently they're still a free agent destination. Kyrie Irving said he was re-signing with the Celtics, then he said to ask him on July 1st. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double for the third consecutive season. His teammate Paul George finished second in the NBA in scoring. Giannis became the third player to average 25, 10, and 5 for a 60-win team. He's the MVP. James Harden scored 30 points in 32 straight games. No one since Wilt had done that. He averaged more than 36 for the season. No one since MJ had done that. I changed my mind. He's the MVP. Dirk and D-Wade played their final home games on the same night and both scored 30, just like old times. The Raptors and Nuggets both secured the 2 seed and nobody even noticed. The Warriors are the 1 seed in the West for the 4th time in 5 years. KD was brilliant on the floor and testy off it. And Boogie Cousins is their X factor in the playoffs. Oh, how could I forget? LeBron missed the playoffs with the Lakers for the first time since 2005. And Magic Johnson resigned on Tuesday without telling anyone. Got all that? Good. Enjoy the playoffs. We are ready, and the Warriors are the odds-on favorite to three-peat at the Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. The Bucks sit at 6-1, Rockets 8-1, the Raptors are 12-1. So Damon Jones joining me here to talk all things playoffs, and you do believe that the Warriors will win the West and probably eventually win it all. So let's go a different direction here. What's something we should look for out of the Warriors early on in this first round?
Well, when they're hitting at all cylinders, they running that pick and roll. Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. I mean, you got 2 of the top 5 best players in our game right now, and you get them in a pick and roll situation defensively. What do? Do you trap Steph Curry off the pick and roll, then you leave Durant going to the basket? Do you try to hedge on the pick and roll? Steph throws back to KD. He has so much height advantage over everybody that's trying to guard him. He's shooting over the top.
You see KD making plays at the elbow here. So important, too.
Oh, very important. I mean, down the stretch in games, when games are close, they go to their bread and butter. And that's Kevin Durant at the elbow. I mean, like I said, he's a 7-footer in a perimeter guy's body. He's shooting over guys from 3. He's putting it on the floor, and he's doing a lot of great things offensively.
They have so many weapons. It seems like Steve Kerr also does his best coaching in playoff environments, which also helps. If there is something you're worried about with the Warriors, what would that be?
Well, I'm worried about the chemistry. And also, the only way that they lose, they beat themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of technical fouls, getting into it with the referees and things of that nature. I think that they have to go out there and execute their game plan to the best of their ability, leave the referees alone, and I think they'll be fine.
All right, that's the West. Let's switch to the East. Who do you think wins the East? Who are you picking on that side? I'm picking
Philadelphia 76ers. And my reason being is they have the best player in the Eastern Conference, and that's Joel Embiid.
Wait. Are you familiar with a guy named Giannis? He's also in the East?
Yes, I am. Yeah. And Giannis, in my opinion, will finish second in the MVP voting to James Harden. And I just think in a playoff situation, when it comes down to possession basketball, you take all the transition out of the game, Joel Embiid is going to impact you in the post. He's a great pick and roll player, and what he's going to do to help Philadelphia the most is he's going to put the other team in foul trouble. He's going to get you into the bonus, so when Jimmy Butler and those guys are driving to the basket, you're going to get free throw possessions more so than not. So that's your case for Embiid over Giannis, but what about Embiid's health? Because he still is dealing with some injury issues. Yeah, he is. I think he's going to be out the first game, I think, but going forward, he's the most dominant player in the game in the Eastern Conference. And I see with his play, Jimmy Butler, those guys, they're going to win the East. Okay, well, I just want everyone to remember that Damon Jones said that Joel Embiid is the best player in the East over Giannis. Tweet him if you got something to say about that. Let's get to football. And I'm going to keep walking. There we go. All right.
Just a couple of weeks until the NFL draft, where the Oakland Raiders will be one of the most closely watched teams with their 3 first-round picks. Yesterday, first-year Raiders GM Mike Mayock shared some advice that John Gruden gave him.
As John keeps telling me, don't mess it up, dude. You know, I took a lot of slings to get you 3 first-round picks. But you know, we laugh about it all the time. But I don't, you know. A, I don't feel any pressure about it. B, I love it and embrace it because it's going to give us an opportunity to continue to try to turn the corner here and become a good football team. And I think what it really gives us is flexibility, and that's what I love about it.
All right, Oakland has a golden opportunity to turn the page on a forgettable 2018 season. The Raiders possess 4 of the top 35 picks in the draft. No other team has more than 2. Dominique Foxworth here. First of all, John Gruden, maybe he was joking, but telling Mike Mayock, hey, you can't mess this up. What do you got on that?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and chalk it up to he was joking because obviously John Gruden has a 10-year, $100 million contract, and he went out and handpicked Mike Mayock. Yeah. So he's going to be involved in these decisions. And they have a golden opportunity. We saw all of those picks right there. You think back to the Browns, like that's kind of how the Browns set it up, but they did find a quarterback that they liked eventually. Okay,
so you mentioned quarterback, and we'll get to that even later on in the show, but this is a defensive-heavy draft. How important is it for the Raiders to get some of those big-time defensive guys?
Well, I think that's huge. So that's how John Gruden won the Super Bowl in the past, and Himbo reminded me that those were Tony Dungy's players, but they won the Super Bowl in the past with a dominant defense and a dominant defensive front, and this draft is deep with defensive front players. I think Quinnen Williams will be a guy that'll still be around for them, who's a really, really dominant player, and you know from SEC coverage that he was wreaking havoc through that conference in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, they have the 4th pick, and it'll be interesting because Josh Allen would be another guy that you would look to there out of Kentucky, but the Jets may pick him up at that 3 spot.
Yeah, I don't think Josh Allen's going to make it to him, honestly. I think the Jets are going to pick him up, and I do think that this draft, having so many picks in the top 35, I think they should lean heavy on defense. They're going to miss on a couple because you're not going to be able to, and this is the reason why I think John Gruden, everyone criticized him for moving away from Khalil Mack, but I actually thought that was a wise decision because they weren't ready to win at that moment, and if they paid Khalil Mack and try to keep Khalil Mack around, I'm not sure. It's the same situation that you have with quarterbacks. You don't want to overpay quarterbacks, then you don't have enough money to fill out the rest of your roster. So I think they're in a good spot right now for a team that's building long term.
So just to be clear, even if they only hit on 50% of these 4 first-round picks, that's a success in your mind?
I think that's strong. If you hit guys that are Pro Bowl level talent, and that's part of the reason why I like the idea of hiring a guy and making him a 10-year guy worth $100 million. Not only do I like it for the fact that anytime you hire someone away from ESPN and give them $100 million, I think that's a good plan.
Hey.
But you guys can go ahead and take that. Everyone can do that. But I do think it aligns the interests of the organization with the same as the coach. If they hired him for a 3 or a 4-year deal, he would have went in heavy, and that may not have been what's best for the team going forward. He's doing what he thinks is best for the team in the long term, and it's only because he has the security of this big contract.
Just to be clear, both of us work for ESPN, so if anyone wants to hire us away to $100 million deals,
yeah, I'll do for 80.
Like maybe 10% of that. Okay, to baseball we go. And despite their win Thursday, thank you, Neek, the Cubs got off to a 1-6 start this season and have alternated wins and losses since then. Pitching has really been the concern as Chicago has the 6th highest ERA in the majors. Joe Maddon's been known for turning things around. It's still early, but we'll see about them. The Yankees have been riddled with injuries and have an MLB high 11 players on the IL, including 5 pitchers. Their ace, Luis Severino, is one of them, and he's shut down for 6 weeks. Also, the defending champion Red Sox avoided their 10th loss of the season with a walk-off win last night they desperately needed. They're 19th in slugging percentage this season after leading the majors in 2018. So let's get some answers here. We're now joined by MLB insider Buster Olney. And Buster, even though the Red Sox did pull off that win last night, there's still some concerns about their slow start. What's the level of concern that you have for the defending champs?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put it at about an 8 because of the starting pitching so far this year. An 8.79 ERA. That's the worst in baseball for that rotation. Chris Sale in particular has struggled. Yesterday, Alex Cora talked about the need to get his slider right. And last weekend, I was talking with some members of Los Angeles Dodgers, and one of them asked me, hey, what's going on with the Red Sox? And I mentioned they backed up their pitchers in spring training because they pitched deep into October last fall. They wanted to reduce the workload. And one of the Dodgers looked at me and said, yeah, we tried that last year, and it doesn't work. All it means is you get off to a slow start, and that's what the Red Sox have to hope is going on here, that they can overcome the slow start and overcome a really good Tampa Bay Ray team.
One other thing, Buster, you really wanted to talk about this morning, Pete Alonso. He's been great. Why did you want to talk about him?
Because he's like the young Gronk of Major League Baseball. You remember that play in spring training when Josh Reddick of the Astros was running to first base. He runs into Pete Alonso and just drops. It was like he hit a brick wall. Pete Alonso, 250 pounds. He's a little funny. He's a little goofy. Oh, yeah, he's also really good. So far, he's batting .378 for the Mets. He's got 6 homers. That home run he hit against the Braves last night clocked at 118 miles per hour exit velocity. That's the fastest clock by any player since they started doing that sort of thing, other than Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton. So watch the Mets, young Gronk, as we move forward.
I love it. Thanks so much, Buster Olney. Pete Alonso worked on his craft a lot with Kevin O'Sullivan at Florida, so go Gators right there. All right, we got plenty more to come on Get Up, and he won't be the first quarterback off the board in the NFL draft, potentially.